Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate all the amazing people that are making this such a great place to live, work, and play. It's great that we got a little rain finally. Really rained hard yesterday morning, and was just thrilled that we finally got some rain. Grass is growing like crazy. We're getting back into that have to cut weekly scenario. But that's not what today is all about. Today is Jeff Duncan Day on my show, where we talk to Jeff Duncan, a columnist from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. And with so much fervor around the draft and what's happening with the Saints, I've been looking forward to reconnecting with him since he was at the Zurich Classic last week. At the time, in fact, we normally would have been doing the taping of this show. He was following Rory McIlroy. So I'm looking forward to getting some feedback from Jeff about what that experience was like. But good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's kind of calmed down this week, thankfully, after the draft and the Zurich Classic. That's always a tough week because they overlap. So you end up those are long days, but I'm not complaining. It's a good gig to have, to be out on the golf course and then go cover the NFL draft.
Well, listen, I have been really have spent a lot of time talking about the quarterback that we got and reading about him, and I kind of like what I see. I mean, I think it's a good risk that they took, and we'll see what you think about that. I know you wrote a column about it. But before we get to the Saints, Rory, coming off the Masters win, they had a little bit of momentum there for a little bit. They ultimately didn't win out, but the fact is, having him there was a huge deal, and you were around him and that fervor around him and what he brings in terms of recognition for this event. It was something to behold, wasn't it?
But yeah, it was his first public appearance since winning the Masters and wrapping up that career Grand Slam, and we had a chance to talk to him before the tournament. And I even asked him about, what's the reaction been like? And, I mean, he said it's been overwhelming, even for someone of his magnitude, who obviously was a popular player before winning the Masters. He said he talked to, I think, 3 presidents and people from all walks of life because his journey to finally wrapping up that career Grand Slam and achieving a lifetime goal resonated with so many people that weren't even golf fans. And he talked about that. So I think that's why he's become so popular is not only is he great with the media, I mean, he's really, really honest and articulate and well-spoken, but he's also very humanized, I think, in this story. And so the galleries were huge every day. I just talked to the tournament organizers yesterday. They set attendance records, concession sales, merchandise sales records, and a large part of that, obviously, was Rory McIlroy.
It is interesting, isn't it, how a sports person, a winner like Rory, who inspires a lot of people. I'm not even a golfer, and I really enjoy what's happening as it relates to him, his leadership in the PGA, et cetera. He's not even a U.S. representative, but he represents us in so many different ways. It's pretty amazing to watch Rory do his thing. But isn't it interesting how these sports heroes can transcend so many, so many barriers and attract so many people to a sport and tell a story in a way? It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Well, that's actually kind of what I try to do in my job is I try to not get in the weeds on the sports specific jargon or, just for the hardcore sports fan. I'm not trying to reach in my job. I'm trying to reach the casual sports fan and the general reader that can relate to this, because most people, frankly, Ricky, are not crazy sports fans like you and I that are worried about who the backup left guard is for the Saints. I mean, they're just not. They have jobs and families and lives, and they got too much going on. Exactly. So you have to try and reach them in a normal, capacity. And someone like Rory McIlroy, everyone can relate to that. I mean, he was under such pressure. He'd struggled. He'd had adversity. He'd come close, picked himself back up. I mean, that's a human condition that he was fighting. And we talked about this before. I mean, when you watched him on the course that day at the Masters, you could see yourself in that struggle. I think everyone could. He was fighting himself more than the golf course. And so to see someone overcome that certainly resonates with all of us, because we all have our own battles that we're fighting every day.
Yeah, that's that's what I'm writing a lot about these days, these internal storms that happen. And again, everyone goes through them. You think about it, a professional golfer, specifically Rory, when at the U.S. Open he missed that one putt. It's not like you can get up tomorrow and go fix that. I mean, it may take you a year or two, and the work that they have to go through to get their mind right and get their body right and get everything in alignment. There's a lot of science to it. There's a lot of extraordinary work. There's a lot of mental preparation. And then he misses that putt that brings him into, at the Masters, that brings him into the playoff. And you can just see the agony. And in that moment, you realize that if he doesn't overcome that tsunami of doubt that he's feeling in that moment, he's not going to win the Masters. And for him to come back from that and win, it's a story of the human condition in a lot of respects, isn't it?
Well, it was just remarkable the way he was able to pick himself back up very quickly, because there was really no time to dwell on the missed shots. He had a couple of really errant shots down the stretch. And then his ability to kind of block that out and respond, I think, is what touched so many people and struck so many people, because that's difficult to do. And we've seen him in the past not do that. So to see him overcome that and then realize this lifelong goal and, reach history. I mean, only 6 players in the history of golf have accomplished what he accomplished. It just was a great story. And I mean, the fact that 3 presidents talked to him, I mean, that tells you how it resonates.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And last thing on the Zurich Classic before we shift gears, I mean, the attention that brings. I mean, I bet the TV audience, I didn't check the numbers, but I bet it was just absolutely off the charts. This is a wonderful opportunity for our region to get a bunch of attention, isn't it?
Yeah, and they got really fortunate. We had weather all around us all week, and we only had one little couple brief weather delays because of lightning, not really rain. But they were fortunate there, and really the tournament is doing better than ever. And it's really, I think, coming on the heels of the Super Bowl here, having a great Sugar Bowl national semifinal game. There's just a lot of momentum right now in the city sports-wise. And I talked to my friends at the Crescent City Classic the other night. They had a record turnout for their post-COVID record, 18,000 runners, up significantly from past years. So a lot of positive momentum, positive vibes in the city.
Yeah, there is. Okay, so just generally, when you look at the draft for the Saints, just generally looking at all the picks that we got, what you think?
Well, I think this is a draft, like we said, going in, that's going to be a good, foundational draft to build a core going forward for Kellen Moore and his new staff. I mean, I think that's what everyone kind of anticipated in this draft. There's not going to be a lot of superstars probably come out of this draft. There will. I mean, players will develop and become Pro Bowl players. They always do. But more than likely, what you're looking for here is trying to get some starters. And I think what was very clear and very intentional by the Saints front office and this coaching staff was they were picking players, one, that fit their off the field kind of high character, team captain type leaders. That was intentional. And then the other thing I think you can see, the selections were in with the future in mind. Linebacker Danny Stutzman, he's going to be the eventual Demario Davis replacement. Jonas Sanker, the safety, he's going to be the eventual replacement for Tyrann Mathieu. Devin Neal, running back from Kansas, he's the eventual replacement for Alvin Kamara. It's all these guys where at positions where the Saints are getting a little old, a little long in the tooth. Tyler Shuck replace Derek Carr. So you can just see down the line what they're thinking. They might not be impact players in 2025, but down the road, they're going to be the guys to step into these roles.
It's so interesting. When we come back on the other side, we'll start with Tyler Shuck and get your read on it. I've been watching a few videos of assessments that were done on him prior to the draft. And I'm telling you, these are really smart evaluators. Some of them really were high on him for a lot of reasons. They had looked at his injuries and didn't have that big of a concern because it was broken bones and not torn, ligaments and these kinds of things. And just a quick side note, and I'll share this with you now, and we'll pick it up on the other side. But I was at a baseball game last night for my grandson, and my daughter-in-law's parents were there. And we were my son Jordan and I were talking about Tyler, and my daughter-in-law's father chimed in, and then it occurred to me, I'd forgotten about this, that the head coach of the Louisville football team is his best friend, and he's followed him wherever he's gone, and so he's been to multiple Louisville games and all that. And you're a Louisville guy as well, and you already said on this show that you watched him, but. Man, he gave us all kinds of insights from the head coach's perspective and so on. It was really interesting. When we come back on the other side, we get Jeff's take. He's a Louisville guy. It'd be interesting to see what he says. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. We have Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune who joins us every Friday, and he's a columnist and on the NFL Hall of Fame Selection Committee, award-winning. I could go on and on. But he has great insights, and he's a Louisville guy, so that gives him some additional insight. So, look, there you go, Jeff, for people who are on YouTube.
L's up, as we say.
Absolutely. Hey, so, Jeff, when you see his last name, it's not pronounced like it looks. How do you say his last name?
Well, it's easy for all of us in the Gulf Coast because it's pronounced shuck, like you shuck an oyster. So it's easy to remember. It's Scottish, which makes sense, right? You've seen a lot of very similar scotches with that same O-U-G-H. And fittingly, his first meal out the other night in New Orleans was at Drago's Seafood, which is famous for its char-grilled oysters. And I think it says something about the guy that not only did he come to New Orleans, but he went out on his own to dinner by himself to Drago's and was sitting at the bar by himself because he'd gotten a tip about this place, and Tommy Satanovich, the owner, walks by, someone recognized him, and he invited Tyler to sit at their table with his brother and some of their friends, and he sat there for 3 hours, Ricky, with these guys he'd never met before and had a blast, and they all spoke extremely highly of him. I think it says a lot about him to do something like that.
Yeah, I had by the way, Tommy and I spent a lot of time together when I was over in New Orleans, and he's terrific, really terrific, and I'm not surprised. I mean, Tommy's the kind of guy that would invite him to the table and then enjoy 3 hours of wonderful conversation. I would have loved to have been at a seat at that table listening to that. But, that doesn't surprise me at all about what I'm hearing about Tyler. First of all, he's married. And one of the interviews I saw, someone asked, "What do you like to do in your spare time?" And he said, "Well, I don't mean to speak to what might appear to be a boring life to you, but my wife and I enjoy watching movies together and going for walks." I mean, he just yeah. An average guy that's trying to have, an average, a wonderful life. But he was so grounded in the way he answered it. Talking about, diametric when you compare him to someone like Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he's literally at the opposite end of the spectrum, just in terms of how he outwardly projects himself and what he expects, et cetera. Pretty outstanding as it relates to Tyler's reputation, isn't it?
Yeah, I talked to my column that ran Thursday online. It'll be in the Weekend Times-Picayune. I talked to Louis Riddick, who is an ESPN analyst. He's a former NFL player, was a personnel director and scout for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, he has a very, distinguished background and what I like to consider, Ricky, an informed opinion. And he has been on the Tyler Shuck bandwagon from the very beginning. He has been championing this player from the get-go. Long before everybody started talking about him in the draft, Louis Riddick felt like this was the biggest sleeper in college football, was going to get drafted much higher than people were saying, and he ended up being spot on. So I talked to Louis at length about him for my column, and he could not be more bullish on Tyler Shuck and thinks he's a perfect fit for the Saints and Kellen Moore. He was a former teammate of Jeff Brom, the head coach at Louisville. They played in the XFL together, so he knows Jeff and his brother Brian very well and got a lot of insight because he covered Tyler Shuck 3 different times for ESPN in college. And he just raved about him as every facet, off the field, leadership, all the qualities, intelligence, the ability to pick up different offenses, the ability to run a sophisticated offense like they ran at Louisville, a pro offense. So there's not going to be that question about him transitioning to the NFL because he ran a college-style offense, which was a big question mark for Jackson Dart. He runs a great offense at Ole Miss, but it's nothing like an NFL offense. That wasn't the case for Tyler Shuck at Louisville. And also just his physical attributes. He's 6'5", 220 pounds, ran a 4.6 40. He throws probably the best ball of any quarterback in the draft. He just has just about every quality you look for in a starting NFL quarterback. And he made no bones about it. He thinks he's coming in, going to start from day one. You don't pick the guy 40th, Ricky, and think he's going to sit on the bench. I mean, you pick a guy that high, you're expecting him to come in and start. And that's what I think he's going to do because of this kind of bizarre, messy Derek Carr situation that eventually will play itself out.
I'm looking forward to moving on from Derek Carr, to be honest with you. It's going to be great to have new blood and moving in a different direction. One of the things that was interesting about the interview that I watched with Tyler is what he did. And I think some of this was his own making, but also the coaches wanted him to do it. But when he was down, of course, his injuries were a really bad tibia break, plate installed, fine, fixed deal. It was a shoulder clavicle, break.
Yeah, it's
and they didn't put a collarbone. Is that right? Clavicle. That's what that is. But
same thing.
He broke it, and they didn't put a plate in it. And then he comes back, and because they didn't put a plate in it, they broke it. He broke it again, and then they plated it this time, and now it's fine. But what was interesting is that while he was down for those extended periods of time, he acted as if he were like the quarterback coach. He became kind of a coach, studying offenses, studying defenses, reading defenses, how to do checkoffs. And he was asked during an interview about something specific. And this might have been during the Senior Bowl or something like that. I don't remember the specific moment. But his answer was, this. And he gave this like complicated answer. And he said, man, where did you learn? That was a really good answer. Where did you learn? He said, because, when I was down, man, I wasn't just working out. I was learning how to be a better quarterback. And I spent a lot of time doing it. So he just went to school on it. And to hear him, the way he talks about it, he's so humble about it, but he is so determined. I mean, there was a lot of dogged determination in him to fight back and to be even better when he came back. That's very impressive, isn't it?
Well, we talked earlier about Rory McIlroy, picking himself up, going through adversity. And that's one of the things I think that attracted the Saints to Tyler Shuck, and Louis Riddick brought that up. I mean, this is a guy what he's made of because he's had to fight back from 3 different significant injuries and build himself back up. And there's going to be adversity. I mean, any rookie in the NFL, it's a difficult transition. For a quarterback, it's way steeper. So there's going to be some struggles. I mean, Saints fans need to get ready. I mean, this kid's, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, he's going to struggle, but that he's got the makeup to fight through it. And I think that maturity, that life experience that he's gone through, the Saints saw that as a pro, not a con. A lot of fans the initial reaction to Tyler Shuck shocked me. That's what I always say, Ricky. I don't know how many times I've said on this program, the internet and social media is become such a cesspool. People just firing off without ever even seeing the kid. And Louis Riddick had the greatest comment on that. He said, what you're hearing from people that are criticizing Tyler Shuck is a bunch of surface level amateur analytics, evaluation. They're looking age, and they're looking at 3 injuries, and it's surface level. They're not looking deep enough. And certainly that's what I heard. And the more NFL people you talk to, and I told you this, I talked to 4 NFL teams before the draft, and 2 of them I talked to had Tyler Shuck as the best quarterback in the whole draft, above Cam Ward. So this guy in NFL circles is thought of much more highly than, say, the average fan.
Well, we'll break down some of the other players that were taken next week. We'll mention a couple here in just a second. But in the final analysis, one of the things that he said was when people asked him about his injuries, his answer was simply something like, okay, so I've experienced what most NFL quarterbacks have experienced, and I've risen above it. I mean, your point of resiliency and coming back, very mature about how he views the situation he was in. It looks like we got a great offensive lineman.
Yeah. Kelvin Banks was a great pick. Was actually the guy projected them to take before the draft. Everyone raves over him. As another guy that, and look, I don't know where he's going to play. I think they're going to figure that out. He may start out at guard and eventually move to tackle, but he's one of the top prospects in the entire draft. One of the few guys I think you could say, plug in this guy. He's going to play for us for 8-10 years. He's a very safe pick. And the Saints obviously got a lot of value with taking him at number 9.
I say, well, again, next week we'll go through them all, but we got less than a minute. If you go down the list after those 2 picks that we mentioned, which one really stands out to you?
Well, I mean, I like another Louisville guy, Quincy Riley, the cornerback they took. I think that's a position where he's going to get on the field, have a chance to get on the field very early. I mean, they lost Paulson Adebo in free agency. They traded Marshawn Lattimore. That became very much a need position. And Quincy Riley was a very good player for Louisville. Their top cornerback the last 2 years. I was surprised he was available in the 4th round when the Saints took him. I thought for sure he would go earlier. He was projected to go earlier. I think that was a great pick. And I think they got a lot of value late in the draft. Devin Neal, the running back we mentioned, kind of the anti-Kendre Miller, the guy you can count on, produce the whole time. They took a lot of safe veteran players. There's a very much a pattern of how they selected these players, guys that produced, team captain types that they can count on. So I don't know if any of them are going to be superstars, but I think they got a lot of solid players that are going to be a part of this foundation going forward.
It's going to be good as they continue to build youth into the team. One of the oldest now, but in a year or two, it's going to be one of the youngest probably if they keep on this track. Let's hope that they can do that. Jeff, it's been a pleasure, my friend. We'll see you next week.
All right, we'll talk then, Ricky. Take care.
You bet. When we come back, JT Mitchell from SuperTalk Mississippi News. We'll see you after this.